Hi Cliff fans and welcome to another one of my 5 minute Cliff album reviews. And today I'm going to review Cliff Richard's album Cliff Richard, which was released in 1963. And I feel this is a kind of forgotten album. I don't know, maybe because it was simply just called Cliff Richard. Maybe if I had a different different title to the album, maybe it'd be remembered more. But I've got a feeling that a lot of fans don't even know about this album, and it's absolutely fantastic. The album got to number 9 in the British album charts in 1963, and it features some really great songs. I think most of the songs were songs that kind of left in the studio that were recorded from I think 1960 up to 63, so they weren't just made for this album. I think there were songs that were left over from other albums maybe, or other EPs, or maybe possible singles. But the album opens very strongly with a song called Angel, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a cover of an Elvis song. The Elvis song, the Elvis's version came from one of his movies, Follow That Dream, and Elvis does a beautiful ballad in that called Angel, and Cliff does a more upbeat version of that song on this album. And a lot of fans will remember Cliff actually featured that song in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, on his Wanted tour, the World Tour. Follows with Sway, which I'm sure everybody knows that song. It kind of got a new life when it was made into a dance track, I think in the 90s, and then Michael Bublé featured it on an album, and it's a big part of Michael Bublé's shows now these days. This is Cliff and the Shadows version on this album, and I absolutely love it. Follows another song which I kind of dismissed years ago, which I absolutely love now. Well, I wouldn't say years ago. I've actually loved it probably for the last 20 years, so if you consider that. But it's called I Only Came to Say Goodbye, which is absolutely beautiful. It's with the Nori Paramore strings, absolutely beautiful song. Followed by Take Special Care, which I know definitely that was from a recording session from 1961, and they done what I consider a better version of it. They done a more upbeat, faster version of it, which is featured on the Rock and Roll Years box set, fabulous box set released in the late 90s with all Cliff's early stuff on it, and it actually features an outtake which is a more upbeat version of this Take Special Care. But it's a great song by Cliff and the Shadows. It was written by Hank and Bruce. Absolutely brilliant. The next one, Magic is the Moonlight, which is I kind of dismissed again when I was younger. Absolutely love it now. Followed by House Without Windows, which is a great track. I have a bit of a memory with this song. I remember my niece was in the car and I played this song, and he's singing about, I'm going to move into a house without windows so I don't have to see her walking by. And I remember my niece, she was only about 3 at the time, to say, why doesn't he just pull the curtains? Anyway, there we go. Yeah, I think that was a cover of a Roy Orbison song. I think it was featured on a Roy Orbison album before Cliff. And then, of course, Razzle Dazzle, which I mentioned before when I done a review of the Cliff Richard show 1962 with the Shadows. He featured Razzle Dazzle as well, which is one of Cliff's favourite Bill Haley songs, followed by I Don't Wanna Love You, which is definitely one of my favourites on this album. Absolutely love it. It's a great country song. And about 10 years ago I realised I bought a Ricky Nelson album in the shops, and it featured this, and this very similar version to Cliff. I know Cliff is a big Ricky Nelson fan, and that comes across in a lot of albums when he's covering songs. They're very similar to Ricky Nelson's arrangement of songs. I know definitely in some of the rock and roll stuff on the first album, even when he's doing songs that were like My Babe and Whole Lot of Shaking going on, they weren't like, a Whole Lot of Shaking was more in the Ricky Nelson's version than Jerry Lee Lewis. So I know Cliff is a big Ricky Nelson fan, so maybe he heard this version first, I don't know. That follows with It's Not For Me To Say, which is absolutely beautiful. You Belong To My Heart, absolutely beautiful again. Another song which I totally dismissed when I was younger is a song called Again, which I didn't like at all when I was younger. I think I totally dismissed it when I was younger. Absolutely beautiful. And again, I think it features Nori Barrymore strings on this one again. Absolutely beautiful song. Followed by Bafivia, which was an instrumental hit for the band The Ventures. Cliff sings it with lyrics on this one, and absolutely brilliant. Kiss is another one I just totally dismissed. Um, Totally dismissed years ago. Absolutely love it now. And the album closes with Reelin' and Rockin', which is got a new life for Cliff in recent years. I think he named one of his tours Reelin' and Rockin', and still Reelin' and Rockin'. And it's a Chuck Berry song. This version is totally different to the one that Cliff does in concert these days. It's with the Shadows, and it's a great rock and roll. I think that was the reason why I bought this album on vinyl first, was for that track. So overall, I'm gonna give this album, because it's so underrated. I'm gonna give it about an 8 out of 10. Absolutely love it, and I'd like to get your thoughts in the section below on Cliff Richard from 1963.